Okay, today's post. One of the things Christian Nerdy talks about is being in an internal state of revolution. You should always be internally ready for complete change. Whenever we say we're going to try to do something or try to form a habit, we're wimping out. We're just saying to ourselves, I'm going to buy myself some more time. The reality is when our emotions want us to do something, we just do it. If we want to approach a pretty girl, if you want to have a drink, if you really desire something, you just go do it. And it's from the Almanac of Naval, Guide to Wealth and Happiness. And so here are my notes on this. So you have to constantly revolt against your current self if you want to reach a higher self. Okay. Now, this is hard to do because for a lot of reasons: human nature, consistency, status quo bias, friends and family around us, culture, things that expect us to remain a certain way and keep acting a certain way. I mean, even ourselves, we build identities around who we are and who we want to remain. And if we're constantly challenging that, not only are we putting ourselves in tough situations, but we're forcing ourselves to kind of rethink who we are, maybe realize some things about who we are. And this is very painful to the ego, which is why most people never do it. Okay. So self-actualization is ongoing. It doesn't just stop. You don't just reach some peak where you're now like the person you're going to be forever. There's a law of entropy in the universe where all things regress to disorder. Everything does. Everything eventually dies out, right? And in your life and how it applies to everything from your health to your work, to your profession, to your skills, if you're not adding energy, if you're not investing into something, it is, by the law of entropy and the law of nature, it is regressing, right? It is regressing to disorder. It is basically falling apart, okay? So I think a lot about and talk about a lot about focus and doing less things, and less is more, and less but better, because of this fact. You have a bunch of things, a bunch of opportunities. You put a little bit in here and there. Maybe you put a little bit in here for a couple of weeks, then you let it fall back down, and then you put a little bit here. It's kind of like pushing up a bunch of different balls on hills, but you never really push them up anywhere that can get them over the top to have momentum coming down, because you push a little bit and then you stop and it comes rolling back down. Okay. This is how most people do most things. They get motivated. They push that ball up a little bit, but again, they push it uphill and then they stop and it rolls back. And then they go on to the next thing and do that. And they just have this perpetual cycle of pushing balls up slopes and not getting over the slope, so that when you have results, momentum can basically gravity can pull it down. Crude analogy, I know, but it's important to consider for what you want to become, who you want to become, and how much time you're spending and energy you're spending. Because if you're spreading energy out, and there's a really good graphic that I remember seeing. It's like this. So circle is energy, okay? And then you have a bunch of little arrows around it where they're, a bunch of arrows like this, okay? So that represents the energy, time, etc., that you can invest into things. And so you have 10 things you're investing like an inch of energy into, right? But if you take 9 of those inches and you direct it to one thing, well, the results end up for one line going like this. And so you have this long, you have results, right? You have a big 10-inch stick of results. Whereas before you had a bunch of 1-inch kind of results, or maybe not even really results, because most things to get results require long-term compound interest, meaning you continually invest, and then over time you'll get results. And over time you'll finally reach those peaks where momentum then works in your favor, gravity then works in your favor. So the thing about entropy is everything regresses. The more things you do, the less energy you can invest in them. And therefore, the more likely you are to have false starts. You're going to push that ball up a little bit, that boulder, and then it's going to come right back down. And ultimately, you could live your whole life like this, where you're convincing yourself you're getting results because you're kind of doing a lot of things, but you're not really moving anywhere. Because you spend a little bit of time here, get a little bit of results, and then you kind of move to something else, and then you forget about this thing, right? And generally, most people are just not good at managing their time. They're not good at managing their energy, their focus, whatever. And so if they get really obsessed with one thing, they get really motivated, then other things fall by the wayside. And this is why we need to have as few things as possible and have very strong values and founding kind of principles for how to live life, so that we don't have to expend as much energy in doing certain things, and they become nature. And this is, again, why habits matter so much, because I mean, at the end of your life, everything you do in your life is going to be a culmination of your habits. You wake up every single day, you do certain things, you don't do certain things, and as a result, you get certain results and you don't get other certain results. I think that's most of what I want to say in this. I guess the thing to consider is habits, developing the habits and connecting them to the things that you really want in life, having as few of those big things as possible that you're working towards, and going as deep and as long as you can into those domains, not quitting, not having false starts, not pushing boulders up 10 different hills. Instead of take like 1 or 2 or 3 hills tops, and continually push every single day and manage that push, so you keep that strain, you keep that forward momentum into that thing, so you can eventually push until you get to the top of the hill, and then gravity and momentum can work in your favor. And fundamentally, most people just struggle to do this for a lot of reasons. Lack of clarity, lack of principles, etc. So think about it for your life. What can you simplify? What can you get rid of? What can you say no to? And a good heuristic to help you figure that out is, Derek Sivers talks about this. He tries to live his life based on the idea that it's either hell yes or no, right? So if you want to do something, it should be hell yes, right? And if you kind of want to do it, or maybe you don't really want to do it, or you feel obliged to do it, and it's not an absolute hell yes, then don't do it. People will accept you, in time. Some people might not like it, but if you really build this into your life philosophy, it could be a game changer. So just do things on purpose. Do more things on purpose. Do more things because you want to, not because you feel obliged, or you would feel guilty if you didn't, or you're trying to please people or whatever. That's just a losing game, right? You have to take care of yourself first, and then you have to be clear about your values and who you are, and live those every single day. And then you'll attract the people that belong, and the people that don't belong, you will repel them. So that's it for today. I did a post on this, and I'll post this video connected to that post, so you can read the actual post and the quote and everything, probably the most recent post. That's what I'm going to start doing regularly on this Graham Insta thing.